Hey guys, my name is Katarina Berry. Today is October 1st, and I decided to challenge myself to 30 days straight of empath related content. And I want to be talking about some problems that we experience as empaths and some ways that we can deal with them, and also some ways that we can use our special empath abilities in real life. So if these topics interest you, if you're an empath, you want to learn more about this stuff, please subscribe to me and to my channel, and we'll be staying in touch for the next month. So what I want to talk about today on this first video is relationships for empaths. I'm an empath. I've been an empath my whole entire life, and throughout my life, and I'm 26 now, and I started dating when I was 18. So for the entirety of the 8 years that I've been out dating people, I found it extremely difficult to have relationships. The main reason for that is I don't struggle necessarily with falling in love. I don't struggle with experiencing deep feelings. What I struggle with most in relationships is disconnecting. So let me explain. As an empath, other people might call this being sensitive or being extra sensitive. I am very aware of people's emotions, people's thoughts, people's feelings. And when I'm intimately sharing a relationship, an intimate relationship with a partner, I have never lived with anyone. I think that's completely impossible. But even without living together, I am finding that I am constantly connected to this person. I'm connected to their feelings, I'm connected to their thoughts, I'm connected to their vibes, their energy. And there is really no way for me to disconnect from them. We might not be talking 24/7, we might not be messaging or on the phone 24/7, but I find as an empath that it's almost impossible for me to completely disconnect from a person that I'm dating unless we stop dating altogether. And this has been definitely a problem for me because I've tended to end relationships throughout my life a lot for primarily these reasons. Now, I had a hard time understanding this about myself, and so I would call it something else. I would call it, oh, I don't want to commit, or, oh, I might want to see some people down the road, I don't know, don't get your hopes up, let's just break up. Or I use some other excuses as well, such as, I need to focus on myself, I need to focus on work, it's not you, it's me, you name it. And the reality is, though, recently when I started doing research on empaths, because I really feel that it's part of my path to share my empath struggles, to understand my own empath journey better, and to share it with others, to teach others how to handle it better than I have. I was researching, just different signs that people can tell they're an empath, or different abilities they have as empaths, and I ran across this whole section on relationships. And that's when I had this breakthrough realization of like, wow, this is the first time I really actually feel validated, I feel understood, I feel like this is speaking directly to me and about me, and this explains so much. And what I read was that for a lot of empaths, relationships are a struggle. And they're a struggle because you really almost can't absorb another person's personality, or them as a whole, as an emotional being, as a thinking being, as a feeling being. And I find that to be extremely true. In relationships, I often would really kind of pull away and retreat from the person because we would start spending too much time together. And I know for a lot of people that who don't maybe have these empath struggles, that might sound pretty strange, because when you're with someone that you love, isn't it natural to want to spend as much time with them as you possibly can? Well, in my case, not really, because the more dates we would have, the more time we would spend together, the more I would be absorbed by this person. And what I mean by that is I would be so in their energy. I would be feeling what they're feeling. I would be thinking what they're thinking. I would be just kind of in them, consumed by them. And even if I didn't feel like being in that state, I couldn't really get out of it unless I would get some physical space and time apart. And still, some part of me was still always connected to this person as long as we were in an intimate relationship. And so when I would get some time alone, especially with the frequent meetings, frequent dates, frequent going out together, you know, sharing space together, maybe doing like sleepovers together, the more I would feel like I can't be myself in the time that I have to myself when I'm alone. So the more I would feel really challenged to be myself, to be in my own energy, to be in my own vibes. And it was impossible to explain to my partners because it sounds very selfish, it sounds very egotistical, like, wow, you know, you need space from me then, is what they would think. Like, why do you need space from me? Don't you love me? And I don't think that's something that normal people experience. First of all, I don't think there's such a thing as normal people, but I think being an empath is this very difficult to explain characteristic that not all people have. It's pretty rare, but it's also very powerful, and I think it can cause a lot of mental suffering and mental emotional suffering, because first of all, you can't really explain what's going on to other people without sounding selfish or sounding like a person who doesn't care or doesn't want to care that much. However, on the other end, when you are experiencing these things, there needs to be some kind of a solution, there needs to be some kind of an outlet, and without being able to explain what's going on and being able to find people that can relate, it can be very isolating, and it can really drive you, what might feel like drive you crazy, because it's so draining and it's so challenging, it's so consuming. You can't stop it, you can't turn your empath off, you can just not be an empath whenever you don't feel like it. So another thing with relationships that I personally have not experienced because of these specific reasons is I can't imagine living with someone. So of course, growing up, I lived with my parents, so, you know, I didn't have a choice, obviously, but now I live alone. And it was when I moved out and started living by myself, that was the first time I really felt like I could actually recharge my own energy, that I could actually be in my own energy. Living with other people has, like my parents, for example, has always been a challenge because I can't really disconnect from their feelings, their thoughts, their energy, their presence. As a child, I was fortunate enough to have a room, and I grew up in Russia, then moved to the United States with my parents, and I've always had my room. So I would often just lock the door. I wouldn't lock it, but I would shut the door. And my parents just kind of got to the point where they just knew that about me. They didn't really ask me why I do this. They didn't really question what I'm doing in there, because most of the time I wouldn't be really doing anything special. I'd be, you know, journaling or playing computer games. But I really needed that space to be shut. I really needed that door to be closed for these reasons, because I couldn't really disconnect from my parents without having that kind of a little bit of isolation. I'm a very extroverted introvert. I like socializing with people. I like going out. That does give me energy. That does boost me up. However, I also need to find time to recharge. So having that space was necessary for me to really be able to get into my own vibrational presence. Living with a partner, a romantic partner, I've never tried it, and I've been asked this by my boyfriends, and the answer was always no. I would say that, you know, even if our relationship does get serious at some point, we're gonna have to agree to have our separate places indefinitely, because I don't see it any other way. I already am unable to disconnect from a partner if I'm in a romantic relationship, even when we're not together. So living together, to me, sounds like something that is completely impossible. It just sounds like it would drive me completely insane, because not only am I constantly connected to the energy of that person, and yes, intimacy does have, I think it has to do a whole lot with this. I think sharing intimate relationship is what, for me, forms that connection that I can't disconnect from that person unless we break up, which means we stop having intimacy, having shared intimacy together, which kind of breaks that bond. So while that bond is still there, it's impossible for me to disconnect. And if that person will be living with me, whether at my place or I'll be living at their place, I will just disappear. That is my deepest, innermost feeling. Like, that is something that is so real for me. It's not a fear. It's an intuitive knowing that tells me, don't do it. You're gonna regret this. Like, I can't imagine that. I can't do that. Also, moreover, sleeping over has been an issue with me, because of course I would enjoy that. You know, someone you love, someone you are dating, someone that you enjoy spending time with. Of course, you'll wanna spend the night with them and snuggle and cuddle and sleep in together on a weekend or something like that. But for me, the problem is I would wake up having had them in my dreams the entire time. Like, they're present in my dreams. Like, that person is not just next to me, they're in my psychic space. And so the whole day after this person would leave or I would leave, I would be even more in their energy. Like, it would just drive me crazy. I would be able to focus on the things that I need to do, but it wouldn't be complete. It would just be partial. And it has been also very hard to communicate to my boyfriends, my partners, throughout the 8 years that I've been dating people. It would be extremely challenging to communicate why I don't want to sleep over as much as, you know, normal relationship couples would do. It sounds like I don't love that person. That's how it comes off. And even the kindest, most understanding, most wonderful guys that I've dated have had this issue to where once I'm telling something like this to them, it's like almost impossible for them to not take it personally. And I understand, I get that. If I tried putting myself mentally, at least, in their shoes and just imagining how it would sound had I not had these like empath problems. And it does sound kind of like I don't want to be with them, or I don't love them, or I'm not enjoying spending time with them, or I'm not enjoying sleeping over. But it's so hard as an empath to really put your energy towards projects, towards work, towards your own creativity, towards doing something when you're in someone else's energy, when you're consumed with someone else's thoughts, when you're feeling someone else's emotions, when you're in someone else's energetic vibration, even when they're not around. It's impossible. It's like you're short-circuited 100% of the time, and you're yourself kind of, but you're energetically somewhere else. You're in this person. You all of a sudden become aware of what they're feeling, or all of a sudden you're like, wow, they're thinking that, or all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's a fear that they're experiencing at the moment. And perhaps my empath ability has been very much heightened because I have been practicing developing my empath skills, my psychic skills, my reading skills, energy reading, healing skills. So yes, naturally this awareness and this sensitivity becomes even more. But quite honestly, I can't really say that it's been just the case since I started dating since I was 18. It's been the case since I was a kid, and of course parents are a little different, and closing the door to my room would provide that little bit of kind of isolation that I needed to get into my own energy. But relationships are the next level. Relationships, intimate romantic relationships, they involve intimacy, and that type of bond, as I mentioned, is way stronger than any other type of relationship, such as friendship or the relationship you have with your parents, because it's not only spiritual, it's not only emotional, it's not only mental, it's also physical. You physically kind of merge with this person to an extent when you share intimacy. And so to disconnect from that, for me, has become, in most cases, in all the cases, impossible. So eventually I would come to the point where the relationship would end, and I would just have it to the point where, even though I love the person and it would break my heart every single time, I would just so not be able to disconnect and so not be able to be in my own energy, be in my own vibration at any point, that I would just have to end the relationship, because I would not be able to proceed with projects, proceed with work. I would start getting depressed. I would start pursuing addictions such as smoking marijuana every day, or getting drunk, or smoking cigarettes. I did a lot of different things in terms of trying to kind of numb that awareness, that connection that wouldn't really go anywhere or ease off. So I am the person who you would call non-committal because of these issues. However, I am very loyal. I do sincerely love the person that I'm with when I'm with them, and then the love doesn't really go away. So it kind of sucks, because eventually I break it off, or it kind of ends all on its own, because there's an awareness that it's not really going to go farther than it is. Like, there's going to be no movement, there's going to be no sharing space 24/7. And to a lot of people, that's not something that they're interested in long term, and it just naturally comes to an end, or I break it off. But the love doesn't end, so that part sucks. So eventually I have to see this person move on with someone else. And of course it gets better with time. I've kind of taught myself to accept that with love, with as much love as I can give to this person, and with gratitude that they find someone who is better suited to meet their needs, because usually I'm not that person. And it's hurtful, it's hard. And it's also, I always feel that it's selfish for me to express that pain and that hurt, because I'm the one who ends it. So what right do I have to feel bad when they move on with someone else? I really don't. I don't think I do. It's not like there is no victimhood in this for me. And I don't want to feel like I'm a victim of my empath abilities, of my empath sensitivities. I have felt that for a long time, for most of my life. But I really also appreciate the power and the beauty and the amazing world that these gifts offer. And I can't say that I'm a victim of these special talents and skills and abilities, because I don't see it that way anymore. I used to, but not anymore. I appreciate them. I'm grateful for them. I feel that they are part of who I am. They are my power. They are my strength. And I wouldn't give it up, even for a chance to have a relationship, even for a chance to live with someone. I would not give it up. As crazy as it may sound to other people, as crazy as it may even sound to you if you're an empath, I understand if you would want to give this up to be able to enjoy relationships more, to kind of have healthier maybe relationships in the retrospect of being able to naturally disconnect from someone that you're dating. But I'll take my empath. I'll keep it, because the healing that I'm able to provide for people, the understanding that I'm able to provide to someone whom no one can understand, when I'm able to read their emotions, when I'm able to mentally understand without knowing anything about them, understand exactly where they're coming from, even if I haven't been there myself. It's completely unexplainable, but when that happens, and when that person is able to benefit from that ability that I have, and they're able to heal, or they're able to release something, or they're able to feel empowered and understood on a level that they have never experienced previously in their life. It's an incredible thing to see and experience, and maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe that's why I'm on this planet. You know, maybe that's my purpose. There's really nothing more powerful than that I've ever experienced in my life, other than this ability to relate to people on the level that is unmatched by anything else. There's no storytelling, no amount of explaining, no amount of tears, no amount of any emotional exchange that can go beyond this level. Perhaps when you're communicating with divine, when in prayer, maybe that is not maybe, but I know it is stronger than this. But other than that direct communication with God or the universe or angels, whatever you believe in, my empath ability allows me to connect with people in a way that is beyond any kind of explanation. And if that's what I'm here for, and to give people this healing, this understanding, this ability to ascend whatever situation that is holding them back, whatever pain that they're going through, whatever trauma, whatever suffering that they're experiencing, if that's what I'm here to do, then that's why I'm here. And I'll just enjoy this life to the best of my ability. And if that means having a very limited scope of how I can enjoy intimacy and relationships with others, perhaps it's the price to pay. You know, maybe it will change one day. Maybe nothing is impossible. Maybe I will find a way to manage my abilities better and to disconnect purposefully and to find a person who's open to this very limited scope of what I am able to give in a relationship without disappearing into it, without merging with this person's energy so completely. And maybe that will yet come into my life, or maybe not. I don't know. But this is what I wanted to share about relationships, and being an empath and having intimate relationships. And if you're struggling with it, you're not alone. If you're unable to have a long-term healthy relationship with someone because you find yourself in a need, absolute to your core need to disconnect in order to remain yourself, in order to have even a chance to be completely in your energy, and you feel guilty, I am here for you. I am sharing this story so that you know that you're not alone, because it's extremely hard and it feels awful to be that person who does this, and it feels like you're the most selfish person in the world when you do this, because there is no adequate way to explain why you're doing it and what's actually going on. So you're not alone, and if you want to talk, leave a comment and let's talk. Yeah. So this is the first video of my 30-day challenge talking about empath challenges here on YouTube. So if you like this video, if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.